everyone, and welcome back to English class. I hope you had a nice weekend and that you're rested and ready for another exciting week. So uh, we just finished a chapter in The Thief of Always, and fortunately, Wendell and Harvey have made it out of the house. They broke through the gate or made it through the mist wall with the help of Mrs. Griffin and the cat there. And as they came out, we saw Karna kind of fall to pieces from the sky. Um, so for today, we're going to think about what's going on, not just outside of the character, and there was a lot of that in the last chapter, but also what's happening inside the character. So our goal is to analyze the not so obvious struggles happening inside the character. And at the end of class today, you will submit a picture of your notebook page and your book club discussion. Now, the book club discussion is very important today because you've done a lot of reading over the weekend and you should have a lot to talk about with your partners. So in today's mini lesson, we're going to do a connection real quick, and then I will talk through my own notebook work in the video, and then I'll give you some options on what you can do for the rest of the period, and then I'll set you free. So we're going to move to the next slide here. And what can we do? We'll move me here. So I want you to have a look at these pictures. On the left, we see Voldemort. Okay, so Voldemort is an external challenge, a conflict, a struggle for Harry. And on the right, we see Harry looking into the mirror, and we see his parents there. So we know that an inner struggle of Harry is the fact that he's missing his parents. Okay, so we have two struggles here. One is something that's outside of him, one that is within him. So we could talk more. We're not going to, but we could talk more about how these external and internal struggles affect the decisions he makes and the things he does in the story. But for right now, I want you to think about an external struggle and an internal struggle. Okay, and you'll see a question pop up in a second. And please give me an answer. Share one internal struggle and one external struggle that you're facing right now. Okay, so now you should see my notebook pop up right over here. And my face is going to disappear. And you'll see my notebook here. So you'll follow along, and then I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to ask myself a question. I'm going to think about the conflicts that Harvey faces, and I want to divide them into external and internal conflicts. So what are the challenges or conflicts that he's facing outside of him and then inside? So for external, we can kind of go in reverse order. In this chapter we saw Karna, we have the holiday house, we have Mr. Hood, we have the mist, right, the wall there. So these are the things that are facing him on the outside, right? It's pretty simple here. It's the house and everything that comes with it, and he can't escape. Okay, so that's the basic idea there. That's the conflict that's outside of him, right? But now we need to think about what's going on what's going on inside Harvey? What are the conflicts that are internal? And I thought some of them might be related to his parents, right? Because he probably feels some guilt for leaving them in the first place. Like when he sees them now, he's going to have to say that he went because the place he was in wasn't good enough. He was bored. He didn't like it. So he's fearing that situation, and he's holding some guilt. Also, I'm sure he's wondering if he should go back. What about Lulu? What about the other kids? Remember in the story we learned that every night when they put on the Halloween clothes, they're the clothes of other kids that were in the house. So if he leaves and doesn't go back, what happens to them? So I'm sure he's kind of weighing the possibility of returning and trying to rescue those other kids. Also, he may be wondering who he really is. And the part that sticks out here is when he was the vampire and he almost bit Wendell. So he may be wondering if there's evil inside of him, because he did think about it when he was there getting pushed by Jive. So he may be wondering about the kind of person he is. Right? He's kind of evaluating who he is as a person. So our next question, now that we have some ideas about the inner conflicts that he may be facing, okay, we want to ask, how do these conflicts affect the character? Okay. So what I might guess is that I think Harvey's quite thoughtful, and he does a lot of thinking to himself throughout the story, like thinking about Lulu, thinking about Wendell, Mrs. Griffin. So I think he will attempt some kind of rescue. With Wendell or not, I don't know. But I can tell by the way he talked and the way he felt, saying goodbye to Lulu and wanting to jump in the lake and pull her out. I don't think he's the kind of guy that's just going to go home and get back into his normal routine. I don't think he can leave them there. So I think that inner feeling of guilt and knowing that something is wrong, he's not going to let it go. So I think here, this inner conflict will cause him to go back and rescue them. So this is something we'll find out in the next chapter, I think. Okay, so you just heard me talk through some notebook work. Up here I have the things that you can do today. And if you see, number 1 goes back to our first lesson in the unit, details at the start of a new story. Then we talk about psychological setting. We talked about power, rules of the magical world, your word journal. We talked about how characters face trouble, what the story is really about. So we were thinking about themes, and we talked about the dominant theme of good and evil. So you could think about that or write about that. And then the work for today is to analyze the inner and outer struggles. So you could use just the kind of mind map that I did in my example to identify struggles outside of your character and also inside them. And here are some questions you could ask to help you figure that out. So how does the character respond? And then how do we know the character is struggling inside? And which sentences show us? Okay, which sentences show us that the character is struggling? Okay, this will be really important when you notice those things, they're things you want to write down. Okay, so I look forward to talking to you in your conferences. Bye-bye.